The Newsday continues here on One News Now. I'm Riza Diaz. Over 1,000 curfew violators were apprehended in the city of Manila last night. Authorities also arrested lockdown violators in 6 barangays that are under strict quarantine. To give us the latest on the ground, we have Justin Punsalang. She's reporting to us live from Manila. Justin, what's the latest situation?
Riza, the Manila police have their hands full at the moment as they implement the curfew in the entire city. Plus, they are also manning 6 barangays that are currently under lockdown. And even though the curfew hours are from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m., the police said minors aged 17 and below are needed to stay indoors no matter what the time is, as agreed upon by Metro Manila mayors. In the last night's curfew, over 1,000 curfew violators were apprehended by the Manila Police District. This is around 100 persons lower than the recorded arrests on Monday evening. Following the directive of FPD Director Leo Francisco, all 98 curfew violators arrested by Abad Santos Police Station were forced to do push-ups at the basketball court of Barangay 228 in Tondo, Manila. But their penance do not stop there. Arresting officials also required offenders to watch a series of short, informative video clips about the dangers of COVID-19, after which violators were asked to join a small quiz bee, and those who will get their answers right can go home early. Problem is, violators were not able to answer the questions thrown at them. While the police is rounding up those found outside their homes during the quarantine hours, some uniformed personnel were busy manning the 6 lockdown barangays. These are 185 in Tondo, 374 in Santa Cruz, 521 in Sampaloc, 621 in Santa Mesa, 675 in Paco, and 847 in Pandacan. Just like previous granular lockdowns in the city, there are designated entry and exit points in the closed-off barangays. They are heavily manned by policemen and barangay employees to make sure only APPREHENDS or authorized persons outside of residence can leave the area. There are also police on foot patrol making rounds inside the barangay to make sure that residents follow lockdown protocols. Despite the efforts, 12 were already apprehended just hours after the start of the lockdown. 8 were from Barangay 374, while the other 4 were from Barangay 185. One violator was actually drunk. He admitted that the alcohol level in his system hindered him from tracing his way back home. To make their detention fruitful, the police decided to also have a COVID-19 lecture for the violators. Lockdown violators will be transferred later today at the Tondo quarantine facility, where they will stay for the rest of the lockdown, after which they will be tested for COVID-19. Should the test results be negative, they will be allowed to return home. Otherwise, they will be transferred again to the city's isolation facility. Both curfew and lockdown violators will be charged with violating the city ordinance and will face respective fines. Riza, starting today, all minors aged below 18 are strictly prohibited from leaving their houses at any time of the day. DILG Undersecretary Epimaco Densing explained this restriction was placed because minors, while having stronger immunities, can be potential asymptomatic carriers of the virus. Here at the City of Manila, there is an ordinance called the Anti-Endangerment Ordinance that can be filed against the parents of the minors who will be rescued outside their homes for loitering. Riza?
Thank you for that report. That was Justin Punsalang reporting live from Manila. The MMDA clarifies that minors aged 15 to 18 years old will be allowed to travel with their families during Holy Week. Speaking with Radyo 5's Ted Failon, MMDA Chairman Benhar Abalos said they are allowing minors beyond 15 years old to travel with their families to areas under MGCQ this Holy Week in the interest of safety. But as for minors aged 15 and below, Abalos said this is no longer covered by the Metro Manila Council. Abalos noted that only the IATF can decide to allow minors below 15 to travel with their families this Holy Week. Abalos urges the IATF to visit its protocols as it may not be safe for families to leave their young members at home.
Ang nakikita pong exemption dito ay kung magkakasama naman pamilya sa kotse,
Okay.
no? Baka mamaya magpapakasyon po yan, baka maiwan pa yung isa. At least yung 15, 16, 17, siguro pwede na po yan. Pero yung pong 15 and below, hindi na po kayang sagutin ng mga alkalde because this is now covered strictly by IATF na po ito.
Cabinet Secretary Carlo Nograles said minors are only allowed to leave their homes for essential travel under IATF guidelines. Nograles said, though, that they are now coordinating with the Tourism Department to clarify exemptions for point-to-point travel. Nograles also urges families to do their research and find out whether protocols in their destinations accepts minors.
Pero ito kasi, you are going to an LGU of destination, point-to-point naman po.
Tama
So,
po.
yun yung, dito papasok yung ating guideline ng IATF with regard to point-to-point destination, particularly pag nagta-travel ka from a GCQ area to an MGCQ area.
Over 60 individuals were apprehended in Quezon City last night for violating curfew. QC's Task Force Disciplina arrested the violators in Sitio Militar, Bahay Toro, Pasong Tamo, and Alicia. Authorities say most of the violators were spotted on the streets, drunk and not wearing face masks. Meanwhile, others explained that they were only sitting outside their homes to get some air when they were arrested by authorities. Curfew violators will face a 300 peso fine for their first offense. Police officers in San Juan are now on board with the pandemic trend of getting on bikes in a bid to crack down against a public display of affection in the city. Mobile journalist Stanley Gahete gives us a front seat to the story.
Weekends are usually a good time to go biking. But for these bikers in San Juan, it's another weekend of reminding people that the pandemic is far from over.
Kuya, face mask mo. Mga ate kuya. Distansya po kayo, distansya. Huwag po kayo matikit-tikit.
Meet the bike patrol of the San Juan PNP. The city started its bike patrols during World Bike Day in June last year.
As you can see here, police officers are chasing people who are not wearing face masks properly and not practicing social distancing outside their houses.
Now the patrol has new orders. They now enforce the ban against public display of affection. Doing this on a weekend was not going to be easy.
SOP natin, sa protocol natin, may social distancing pa tayo. Wala mo nang holding eh.
Wala po, okay lang naman po. Saka maganda din po yun para din naman sa kapakanan ng lahat.
But not everyone is cooperative.
Kapag dalawa lang, yun naman siguro kailangan ng isip.
But it's a serious business for the city. San Juan was ground zero for the COVID infection in Metro Manila. The first recorded infection here was in the popular Green Hills Mall. With the new variants hitting the national capital region, the numbers are far from reassuring.
Kaya po, medyo doble po yung pag-iikot po namin ngayon.
Just this weekend, police have apprehended 113 violators. The city ordinance penalizes violators with a steep fine. With the rising cases of COVID-19 infections, authorities might just stretch social restrictions. The Pinaglabanan Shrine, always a popular dating place in the city, is now practically empty. For now, that's just how the city prefers it to be.
While we have vaccines right now, it is still important that we practice minimum health protocols for us to fight together the mobility, the COVID-19 variants. Stanley Gahete, we are One News.
Moving on to other headlines, the Supreme Court has affirmed the country's withdrawal from the International Criminal Court. The tribunal junked a petition seeking to invalidate President Duterte's unilateral withdrawal from the ICC without a Senate concurrence. The High Court said the issue has now become moot and academic since the country's withdrawal has already been recognized by the ICC. President Duterte canceled the country's membership to the ICC in 2018 after the court's prosecutor announced a preliminary investigation into Duterte's bloody war on drugs. 6 senators asked the Supreme Court to invalidate Duterte's decision, which already took effect a year later. The lawmakers argued that the country's withdrawal from the International Court would pave the way for more human rights abuses. But the Supreme Court held that the local judiciary system has enough powers to protect human rights abuses. The unanimous decision penned by Associate Associate Justice Marvic Leonin has yet to be published but is confirmed to be 100 pages long. Debate over the safety and effectivity of the AstraZeneca shots continue. More countries are suspending the rollout of AstraZeneca's vaccine due to its purported side effects, while other world leaders, including the WHO, continue to support the use of its shots. Here's a quick take from Bloomberg.
And the government clearly, unequivocally, absolutely supports the AstraZeneca rollout. Clearly, unequivocally, absolutely.
หลายคนก็เป็นห่วงส่งกำลังใจมาผมคิดว่าเราต้องเชื่อหมอนะเชื่อบุคลากรทางการแพทย์ของเราแล้วก็ในส่วนของการดูแลสุขภาพของเราเป็นประเทศลำดับต้นของโลกอยู่แล้วก็ด้วยคณะหมอคณะ
La décision qui a été prise en conformité aussi avec notre politique européenne, c'est de suspendre par précaution la vaccination avec AstraZeneca en espérant la reprendre vite si l'avis de l'EMA le permet.
Hemos decidido la suspensión cautelar temporalmente, al menos en las 2 próximas semanas.
Ja, meine sehr geehrten Damen und Herren, aufgrund einer aktuellen Empfehlung des Paul-Ehrlich-Instituts setzt die Bundesregierung die Corona-Impfung mit AstraZeneca vorsorglich aus.
Recomendaram hoje a interrupção temporária do processo de vacinação contra a Covid-19 com a vacina da AstraZeneca, tendo por base a aplicação do princípio da precaução em saúde pública.
This does not necessarily mean these events are linked to vaccination, but it's routine practice to investigate them. And it shows that the surveillance system works and that effective controls are in place.
And those are the top stories of the hour. Join us later at 1 in the afternoon as we continue to monitor the day's biggest stories. You can also catch One News on Signal Play app. Register for a free account now at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. I'm Riza Diaz. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. We are One News.